Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and I'm here to talk to you today about the T54 lightweight, or rather, I'm here to have a chat to you today about a little bit about light tanks in general, about the lightweight specifically, and it's a response to the video I posted up very recently of the RU251, which is the Tier 8 German light tank de jour. Well, it is and has been for quite some time. It was the first Tier 8 light that we got in the game, and it was a Tier 8 light that I adored driving at the start, and after driving it again recently, I'm still completely in love with it. It's a brilliant tank, it's a lot of fun, but it's nowhere near the plug-and-play genius that this little number is. The 54 lightweight is a bit of an embarrassment, in my opinion. It's got armor. It's got so much more armor than the RU251. Not only does it have so much more armor than the RU251, it actually at times can go hull down and bounce shots, which is hilarious considering it's a lightweight tank. And the RU251, while it weighs less than the 54 lightweight, has basically very, very much the same within 5%, maybe 8% power to weight ratio. So the RU sacrifices all that armor and in essence gets absolutely bugger all back from it. Has a higher top end speed, but the lightweight's not exactly slouching along in terms of top end speed. It does 69 kilometers an hour, which is 11 kilometers an hour slower than the RU251. And despite the fact that it's heavier, it has better terrain resistance stats than the RU251 has, i.e. it has 0.7 versus 0.8 for hard terrain, 0.8 versus 0.9 for middle of the road, medium terrain, and for the heavy stuff, the slow to go stuff, it is 1.2 for the lightweight and 1.3 for the RU251. So on each bit of terrain resistance, it has 0.1 better ground resistance. Why? I don't know. It really is pretty silly. And that means that you've got a tank that moves impressively, like very, very quickly, and yet still maintains an armor profile. It is not the best armor profile in the world, but it's a bloody good armor profile for a tank that can book it at 70 kilometers an hour. And while booking it at 70 kilometers an hour, has exactly the same camo as when it's completely and utterly stationary. So you're looking at a tank with a 100mm gun that does 70 kilometers an hour, has incredible camouflage, has an armor profile that allows it to bounce the occasional shell, and indeed versus certain tanks go hull down, particularly when it's a top tier tank versus, say, tier 7 tanks. And it's Russian. Which is no surprise to anyone, because Russian bias is a legit thing. There are tanks like, I don't want to even get into it, but Russian, get the hell out of town. There's some tanks. The 54 got nerfed eventually. The Tier 9 for T54 has been nerfed, right? But that thing survived as an absolute prima donna amongst all tanks. It was the prima ballerina of all tanks for such a long time, and it had everything going for it. And it's taken forever for it to be nerfed, and it's one of the most deserved nerfs in the history of gaming. And there's no surprise in that this thing has so much going for it. So you get to play this tank more or less like the RU251, super quick, like super, super quick, aggressive, you can spot targets, you can do so many different things, and it has the ability to bounce shots. So when I recommend this tank, it is with wholehearted approval. I did a video on it outlining the top tanks and most overpowered tanks, and this one was listed in it. Now, things have changed since then. It has been downgraded compared to competition by spare parts. I don't know where that went. Maybe it hit another tank that was in front of him. I don't know. That was crazy. And that downgrading has occurred because premium ammunition has gone down, and pretty much all the tanks at Tier 8 that share that kind of 100mm gun that has crappy pen numbers, loiters around 175mm a pen, but still has decent pen on its promo and therefore was able to have a nice dose of alpha, like a 280 alpha gun, and pen all the time because of promo, those tanks have become less valuable. Heavy tanks have become more valuable, and those two things are just absolute truisms because, you know, your T-34s, your T-59s, your Type 59s, the O-47s, T-54 Mod 1s, these are the tanks that run these 100mm D10 guns, and they universally have like 175 pen, 280 alpha, big long reloads, not huge damage per minute numbers, certainly not as good as the RU-251s and some of the other stuff that's out there. And that was all well and good when you could just switch to APCR, which is what they generally have as their premium ammunition, and pen for 250. It cured a lot of ills. It really did. Well, 235 is your pen in the case of the lightweight, which is one of the reasons why I run calibrated shells, because even though you drop a little bit of damage without running gun rammer, you get 183 mils of pen on your AP, which makes life a lot easier, and 246 millimeters, 247 millimeters of pen on your APCR. But for all that, your playstyle should be a near mimic of the RU-251, accepting the fact that when you absolutely 100% have to, you can face targets and bounce shots. And it's not even just about bouncing shots. It's, for instance, say you're going to do what I do in just a second, which is push really, really aggressively on a Borsig, the boom sig, as my good mate Met likes to call the thing. I'm going to push really aggressively on a boom sig. In an RU-251, if he knew I was here and he knew I was coming, he could load HE, and he could pen me with his 150mm gun for 960 alpha. Now, I cannot say that what I'm going to do is bounce his shot because he has a lot of pen on that 150. What I can say is that he's not going to pen me with HE frontally and do that enormous amount of damage. And that makes hit point trading an awful lot safer for a tank like the T-54 lightweight, and it makes those stationary moments where you're just zoning out a bit and putting shells into other tanks a lot easier to do. Now, the Type 49 is a tank I haven't mentioned a whole lot, but it looks for soft targets like the RU-251 to pen with HE, and it can struggle tremendously to pen this thing with HE, and that's tough. I mean, people talk about the 49 kind of sucking or being overpowered, depending on which end of the gun you've been on, when it's either hit someone for 900 or 700 or 800, or it's done absolutely nothing. So, you know, it's very much beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The lightweight is a strong medium with light tank speed and light tank agility. So it's been nerfed in this current meta a touch, and that's purely and simply because of the rise, the ascendancy, the rise of the machines, the rise of the robots, the rise of the heavy tanks. And that's good. I mean, people say that that's not balanced, and it's not balanced, but something has to be the best. And forever, it was medium tanks and some of these overpowered versions of the light tanks. And this will wax and wane. It will wax and wane forever, because as much as a game developer would love to have everything absolutely spot on in terms of balance, it quite simply isn't possible. You're going to see I get killed here, but you're going to see the mobility of this tank. When you put it to the test and you put it in a really tough situation, you can see that Borsig, 354 damage with HE. 50mm of pen is all you've got on the HE, but it's more than enough to deal with Borsigs. These guys see me coming. One of the things that is really important to note with light tanks, if you're a pest kind of person, you are gonna love light tanks. If you're like the kid on the long car trip that goes, are we there yet? 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 You drive everyone up the wall. But they don't have a choice. They've got to listen to you because you're in the same car as them. The lightweight is very much that tank in that you're going around in the flank, you're being a nasty bugger, you're putting yourself in all kinds of crazy situations like this, and, you know, you're still outputting damage, and I've got no hit points here, and I'm going to get rid of this AMX. I'm going to use him to shield me from the IS-2SH. I've kept 2 tanks completely busy here, while the rest of the team wrecks them. I hit 2 people on the steps, I ruined the life of their whole team, and it's because I've got light tank speed and agility and the ability to take a few shots, and I've got that low Russian profile. It's just all coming up roses for the T-54 lightweight. I'm actually running a lot of these tanks with my good mate Blacklaw. He's another member of the Grump clan, very good bloke, lovely to have a chat with. And thank you very much, The Claw, for being part of my T-54 lightweight video. It is a tremendous flanking tank, and it's one of the best in its tier at carrying, I find anyway. I find that it's quite capable of circle of deathing all but the most agile of vehicles. And that means that you can deal with a lot of multiple tanks at one time. As you saw in that last part, I mean, if I had been on open ground, I would have done a lot better versus those 2 guys. But as it was, we managed to finish off that AMX and take up a whole bunch of time. But for all that, it's not an impervious vehicle. It's not as strong as it was the day it came out. There have been other tanks introduced to the game that are really, really good, and there's been equipment changes that have both helped it and hindered it. But mostly it's the change in the meta. It's the prevalence of people driving heavy tanks again. And that's not evident in this game, and because of that I'm able to really make a lot of hay in this game. You can see I've pushed out to the far flank, and I'm just having a whale of a time. Highly recommend this tank. It should be in everyone's garage, and it's a tank that's absolutely worthy of spare parts, and it's a tank that's incredibly fun to drive. You cannot but enjoy the concept of driving 70 kilometers an hour flat out, hitting people, bouncing shots, flanking, doing the business, being a thoughtful tanker. It allows you to take good tanking theory, put it into action, and still have a margin for error that you really don't get on a lot of vehicles. It's got so much going for it, and it's a tank that I really, really recommend. Now, I don't think that's a surprise. I'm pretty sure everyone knew I was going to recommend this tank. But I just wanted to go through a few of the things, because I felt like after doing the RU251, it was only fair that we talked about its main competitor for the Tier 8 Light crown. And indeed, the king of the Tier 8 Light crown. I mean, the T49 is the most fun Tier 8 Light, but it is also, like, just drastically underpowered versus, say, a tank like this IS-3. It struggles to do anything to it. Not so the lightweight and the RU. They can go around it, they can really be effective against it, and they're excellent, excellent tanks. Not just because of their big, big gun like the 49, but because they blend a lot of things together, and it works. So boys and girls, until next time, look after yourselves, stay safe on the battlefield. There's lots of stuff coming up. As always, if you'd like to sponsor the channel, become a member of the Patreon community. There are podcasts out there, there are Patreon-only videos, there's all kinds of things going on. And I'm really happy to be giving back to the guys and girls that support me. Until next time, team, stay safe.